Hey there, thank you for tuning in. I am Kat with Makeup by Kat, and you may have found me from my Instagram at Everyday Girl Essentials. So today I'm going over like a 10 to 15 minute like makeup routine, and it might seem like a touch longer because I'm gonna be walking you through a little bit of the products that I use, but once you're on your own, it should go by like pretty quick. So let's get started. I have like a very clean face, nothing on it. So I'm gonna start with this Bioderma, like a beauty oil. Vitamin C is one of the main ingredients in this. So I'm putting it under my eye. If it kind of runs down, no problem. Make sure you're not like talking like I am to get it in your mouth. Now you might find that if this oil is not really running down your face pretty quick, then you might be a little more on the drier side. So it's okay if you need to use like a touch more. I love this beauty oil, especially for like preventing creasing underneath the eye. And I'm combination skin, so I really like how it kind of controls the oil like on my face while also regulating that dryness on the border of my face. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that's all pressed in. And then I go in with my moisturizer. I love the CeraVe. Even on my clients, I love the CeraVe moisturizing cream. It is like one of the most universal moisturizers out there. Universal as in no matter what kind of like skin type you have, it's pretty all encompassing. And we're gonna any excess down my neck. And touch on my lips, especially if they're kind of dry, is really nice. Okay, then I use the Ole Henriksen like banana eye bright cream. It looks like a small amount, but it will last you forever. And I don't use this at night, but I think it's a really good base for like products underneath your eye and on your eyelid. Especially since a lot of powders and like concealers, setting powders can be a little bit drying. And that's when you really start to see that creasing. Whenever the makeup is setting into those lines because it's so dry. Okay, so that's like a lot of the base. So before I like kind of really start the makeup application, I love this moisturizer, and it has like a sheer tint to it, almost like a light wear foundation. So it is from PCA, it's like an SPF 45. And I got it from my dermatologist, but I think you can just order it online. I don't know if there's other shades with it. I wanna say that there is, but something I like about the sheer tint moisturizer is it kind of gives you like a little bit of coverage, so you don't really need a foundation every day while getting the benefits of an SPF. And that sheer tint makes it pretty glowy. You can see my skin's like really dewy right now. So again, any excess, I'm just working it down my neck. All right, so I'm gonna do the eyes, a very quick eye. I'm using the Tartelette Juicy Palette, one of my favorite palettes. If you are a client of mine, I have 100% used this palette on you. So I'm gonna take a fluffy brush and go into one of the base like nude colors. And just lightly like windshield wiper that on. Again, for every day, I think that this like windshield kind of motion is pretty good for like getting you that coverage. If you wanted like a more dramatic look, then tap the product on rather than like blend it out. And then I'm gonna use like this very like light pink. It is in shade Blossom. I love a very light pink. Ooh, sorry for hearing the thunder. I love this light pink for kind of that transition color and giving my eyes just a much more like brighter, lifted, awake look. And then I'm gonna finish that inner corner with Water Lily. That's kind of like a champagne brightness, like shimmer. And I'm gonna put that like on my inner corner. And after I kind of work that in the inner corner, such a nice shimmer. I'm just gonna lightly put it on my brow bone. And that is like all I do for the eyes in my everyday look. You can obviously build that up or down, like depending on where you're going to, but in my everyday look, my eyes usually are pretty quick. Okay, so now I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood filter. I love this. It's not as thick as like a moisturizer, and it's not as thick as a foundation, but it really is like kind of like a marriage of both. So the Hollywood Flawless Filter. And I am using shade 3 Fair. So with a damp sponge, I'm dabbing that into place. And if I happen to have any excess in the area, then I'll like dab it out. All right, so now I'm gonna take my concealer and I am using shade Creme Brulee, the NARS concealer. I'm gonna dab it kind of like an arrow, almost up to my eye, but not quite. I'm gonna finish it on the outer part of my eye. This helps add a lot more like dimension to brightening your eye rather than almost like you just took a chunky like highlighter to that under eye. And I love how that pink and that like champagne shimmer really works so well with one another. One of my favorite combinations. So that same wet sponge, dabbing it into place and working it up to the eye. If you have creasing whenever you're doing your concealer, I highly recommend do not put a heavy amount right at your eye, because that excess product is just gonna sink into your concealer rather than this kind of arrow method and working it in. I love this look. I think I usually do something like this when I'm just like going to like a quick lunch, if I happen to have to be on the Zoom call for work. It's so nice and easy and really helps me look like refreshed, glowy, hydrated, like maybe I'm actually drinking water like I'm supposed to. And any excess I have on that sponge, I'm gonna work into the high points of my face. Still just dabbing. You're not like pressing and moving. Just dabbing into place. And the excess, like I said, I'm putting on the high points of my face. Looks so good. All right, so I'm gonna set that in with my setting powder. This is from Huda Beauty, and it is in shade Pound Cake. Whenever I'm a little more tan, like closer into the summer, then I'll use the shade Banana Bread. So I'm just dabbing that on. Not a lot. I'm just dabbing like a touch on and then sweeping motions into place. If you kind of put too much of the like setting powder on, it really highlights creasing. So I'm a fan of a light amount, lightly dabbing it on, and then once it's kind of in place, sweep away that excess. If you're going for like a very full contour look, then you could kind of like bake that into place and like really brighten your eyes. But I think in an everyday look, that type of contrast is just like not as flattering. I get a touch oily on my nose and my T-zone. So I'm also gonna add a little bit of this setting powder to those areas, again, to help just a touch with that oil control. So now I'm gonna use a like mattifying powder. So even though like the outer edges of my face is dry, because I have so much oil and moisturizer and now cream product on my face, I think that a matte powder really helps with controlling that amount of like wetness on your face. So I'm gonna use the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat. And I'm using it with an IT Cosmetics brush. It's crazy if you can hear the thunder because it's like so sunny outside. I guess Texas is funny like that. So I'm just dabbing a little bit on. I'm gonna pull my hair back a little more. And then as we worked the other product down our neck, we are doing the same with this. And it really helps give you like a very cohesive color. And it's just a light amount of powder to set that kind of cream in place. Okay, so now I'm going to do my bronzer. I've been really loving this Revolution bronzer in the shade Cool. And it's such a big like pot and it goes on so smooth, like almost between a cream and a powder. So I'm gonna do it in swipes right at my cheekbone and then buff it out a little more to like the width of my ear, almost in like an arrow up to the point of my nose. I do not want my like whole cheek and face to be brown. So we'll do that again on this side. Start at your cheekbone and then go about to the width of your ear. And I'm gonna buff a touch up into my forehead just to give it kind of some shape. And again, with that cohesive color. And a touch down on my chin, almost like elongating what we put on the cheek. And anything that's left, I'll just put on the sides of my nose. So I didn't add new powder, but just anything that's left. I don't want any like harsh lines or coloring. All right, so now we'll do our blush. And I'm using the Jouer in Adore Me blush duo. So I'm gonna actually tap like both. I love the natural color that these have, especially whenever we put that kind of pink in the eye. It looks so good with that like peachy blush and then a pink lip. So I'm just staying on my cheekbone, and then I don't want to go into the bronzer that I put on. So I'm just I'll learn how to talk. I am just buffing it with the brush right above where I put that bronzer. If you want like more of a like sunny look or like sun-kissed, then you can add a little bit of blush and like just kind of go across like the top of your nose and cheek. And that's gonna really help give you that like very like sun-kissed look. Okay, so we are good on the blush and the bronzer. Now I'm going to do the eyebrows. I want to add a little bit of color to the under eye. Again, just trying to focus on that like cohesion. And I also think that an under eye really complements any eye shape and can really help make your eyes just look like more awake and wide and bright. So let's start the eyebrows and then we'll finish up the eye. So I'm using the NYX pencil in shade Brunette. I love the NYX line of their pencils and liners. And I'm just doing light, kind of sweeping motions. And I usually start in the middle and then work my way forward. So middle and then come up. I just don't want the front like too dark. Otherwise it's like really obvious that the eyebrows are like filled in and thick rather than like kind of a more natural everyday look. And it's amazing what your eyebrows do to shape your face. Okay, so I appreciate the look of like a fluffy brow rather than like kind of the like Instagram, like cream, like thick brow. So what I mean by fluffy is I am going to brush this up. Like I brush my hairs up and then I lightly comb the tops down. So you can see kind of the difference in volume from like this one to this one. And I love how this one, it just looks a little bit more like hair rather than like a line on my face. Especially if you kind of like overfill them in. So I'm brushing the tops directly up. And then as I make that curve, I'm just brushing out towards my hair. And any kind of bit that's like a little bit out of place, I'm gonna lightly press down into place. And I just love that look for a brow. I'm gonna fill this front one in a little more so it matches the other. Now, the good thing about starting with such a like oily and creamy base is that if you ever have like a little bit too much product in the front of your brows or even the sides of your eyes down here, you can usually just use your finger to kind of like press away that excess powder. I mean, make sure your finger's clean because you don't want to add any color where it's not supposed to be. But even your finger can help blend in a little bit, especially at the front of your eyebrows. Like I said, I love a more like natural look right at the fronts of them. Okay, so now I'm gonna finish the under eye and then we'll do our lips. So I'm gonna go in with this more like tan color, just kind of on that like top of that brush. I'm using a pretty small flat compact brush. It's a Morphe M213. And I am using the color Fresh Start from that Juicy palette. And I'm gonna pack that color on the corners of my eyes, the outer corner, and then drag it up to like my pupil. So I'm packing the color on, and then I'm dragging it. So if you want to kind of take this like a little bit deeper, I love the under eye a little bit more like darker, especially if I'm not using like a liner on top. I'm gonna go in with a light brown. I don't want it too dark. So I'm gonna take that brown and pack it into that corner and then drag to the pupil. And there's my little biscuit running down the stairs. So packing that outer corner, dragging to the pupil. Okay, so make sure that brush is clean, and then the same one, like just dab it in like a towel. That same color that we put on that shimmer, I'm gonna put in the inner corner of my eye to help like open and brighten that up. And I love this palette for its shimmers. It's not like a chunky glitter. If you don't have like a palette that has that kind of shimmer, then any highlighter as well, like a powder highlighter, you can put on your inner corners of your eyes and the inner lid, and as well on the bottom lash line. And it looks so good. This is a really nice, like kind of peachy pink everyday look. So now I'm gonna use the Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara from L'Oreal. I usually do not wear false eyelashes in my everyday look, otherwise I would have applied those first. I'm just putting this on really gently. So starting at the root, and if you ever get a little bit on your like lash or nose, lower lash line, then just let it dry. Then you can go back over it and either use a clean spoolie, what's usually on the end of a like eyebrow pencil. And you can either kind of like scrape it off a little bit, or you can go in with that same like concealer, foundation, powder, eyeshadow, and kind of conceal it. But do not mess with it while it is wet. So we just have the lips left, and then we will be done with our like 15-minute look. So I'm gonna line my lips in the Charlotte Tilbury. This one is the Iconic Nude from her like Pillow Talk collection. So I don't really overline my lips in my like everyday look. But if you're using anything other than like a chapstick, you must line your lips. Otherwise, it'll just like bleed off your lips. If you have oily skin, definitely you need a lip liner. Again, to like keep that product in place. Okay, so we lined our lips, and then now I'm gonna use this hyaluronic acid lip gloss from Maybelline. This is my new obsession, in case you're wondering. And especially like for a drugstore, it is amazing. So I'm using this in shade Stone. I did buy the whole line though. It's a really nice lip gloss. And it has just like a little bit of pigment, so you can still see like any liner that you put under it, but it is so hydrating and dries down like a lipstick. So flattering on anyone and so moisturizing. I'll show you the 3 that I am like obsessed with right now that I use every single day. So these are the colors. And the one I just used was shade Stone. Has a little bit more of like a pink brown. And if you want more of a true brown, you can use shade 7 and Amber. And on especially a lot more of my like girlier, like more dramatic looks, then I love topping off my lips with the shade Reef. It's a much more of like a pink. But like I said, like there's a little bit of tint to them, almost like a tinted lip gloss, but it's not sticky. It is very hydrating. And our last step that we have is to set this look. I love the Milani setting sprays, and they smell amazing. So if you want more of a matte look, then you could use the Make It Last Original. And if you're wanting more of that dewy finish, then you can use the dewy. I actually use both. I like to start with the dewy, and then once it kind of like dries down, then I will go back in with this matte. So usually I like wait a couple minutes, but for the sake of like ending this video, I'm gonna go ahead and just go over it. Now a tip I do want to give you is sometimes, especially when I'm spraying like my clients, they like really like squinch up their face whenever they're like anticipating this spray. But all you are doing is creasing that makeup, and now you're setting those creases in, especially around like your eyes and your forehead. So really try your best when you're using a setting spray to just keep like a plain face, even if you need to start further away and then bring it to you. But you do not want to make these creases last, and you don't want to set them into place. So that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please tag me whenever you're trying this look. Like I said, I love it for like my everyday kind of summer look, or whenever we're going for like lunch or like a late dinner. I love this look. It is so complimentary, so flattering. Love it, love it. I can't talk about it enough. So thank you so much for watching, and please find me on Instagram at everydaygirl_essentials and give me a follow. I am always doing tutorials and kind of showing you guys like a behind the scenes while I'm doing my clients. So thank you so much.